The Submerged Boy. One of the most skin-crawling stories found on Reddit was told by this Reddit user. OP says that he went fishing one day with his friends. When they returned to shore, there were several guys walking in the shallow water. They asked the OP if he'd dive underwater and see if their friend was alright. Well, that's dark enough. The calm with which they requested this made the whole thing even darker. The OP and his friend looked at each other in confusion while his friend started helping the boys look. The OP called the police. The tallest of the boys ordered him to hang up, but the OP ignored him. When a rescue team was on the way, the tall boy, with an expressionless face, said he doesn't know how to swim. None of us know. Leave the police out of it. He continued to badger the OP's friends and saying they just wanted to know if their friend was alright. The OP, still on the phone with the operator, watched as the strange boys just walked away slowly. The rescue team came and swept the shallows. They didn't find anyone, so they believed it was probably just a prank. The next day, however, the beach was closed because of the discovery of the boy. The police thought the guys the OP and his friends had come across probably did their friend in. In the Reddit thread, the OP later mentioned a link to a local newspaper about the event, which another Redditor then posted. The bodies of the two young men who disappeared Saturday in the waters of Lake Two Mountains were recovered this morning by the divers of the Montreal Police Department, or SPVM. On Saturday afternoon, they strolled with friends on the shores of Lake Two Mountains at Oka National Park when they suddenly disappeared into the water. The bottom of the water is suddenly deep in this area, which may have made the two young Montrealers of Pakistani origin lose ground. At least one of them did not know how to swim. The 6 or 7 friends who accompanied them either. While this may explain the whole event, it doesn't explain why the remaining boys behaved in such a dark manner. Number 2. The Twitter account. Another case of stalking, as well as taken identity. This Redditor describes how someone used an inverted profile pic of him and created a fake Twitter account, altering the spelling of his name. OP was apparently someone who'd made a name for himself because the phony version used the account to scam elected officials and reporters into following the fake version of him. I tried not to look at the fake account very often, the OP said, but I'd check in once in a while to see what they had been up to. The OP traveled to a city an hour from where he lived and did some remote work in a coffee shop. It wasn't long after that he saw the fake Twitter version of him had posted a photo of him working that day, tweeting, "Here I am, working so hard." Seeing a photo of myself that had obviously been taken at close range, without my knowledge, by someone who was clearly trying to mess with my mind, freaked me out a bit, the OP said. I think it's safe to say that most people would be freaked out more than a bit by this kind of person. Number 3. The Button. The Button is one Reddit mystery, not in the form of a story told, but rather in the form of, you guessed it, a mysterious button. On April Fool's Day 2015, a blue button with a 60-second countdown timer that reset each time someone pressed it appeared on the Reddit board. Reddit users across the world began clicking away. The mysterious button was such a big hit that mobile applications and websites were produced only to measure the statistics live and to alert Redditors to click when the timer started to count down too low. The mystery of the button was solved. It was created by a Reddit administrator as a social experiment. A Reddit account could only click the button once, with only accounts pre-existing the button's appearance were allowed to click it, i.e., users couldn't create new accounts just to click the button. Alongside the button was a tracker that numbered the amount of unique clicks since April 1st. Each user had a gray dot beside their username if they hadn't clicked the button. Once a Redditor had clicked the button, a dot would appear, colored in relation to the point at which they clicked the timer in the countdown. The flare colors, as they came to be known, were in the sequence of rainbow colors, with the 60s to 32s being cool colors, green, blue, purple, and the 31s through zeros being warm colors, yellow, orange, red. Placing the cursor over their flare, a user could see the exact second of their click. The experiment ended on June 5th of the same year with no real explanation about what sort of data was being gathered in this social experiment. By the end of it, 1,008,316 unique users had clicked the button. For what reason? No one knows. Number 4. Secret Ghost Society. Ghost meetings probably occur every day, but we, the living, just don't know it. However, an acquaintance of this Redditor does know it. I have a story that didn't happen to me, but rather my friend's dad, he begins. I believe him 100%. The dad, who OP gives the alias Jack, and his brother, alias Tom, were rooming together. They shared a house and had it to themselves. Jack arrived home one night, entered his living room, and found a group of elderly folk having a chat. When he entered, everyone went silent. They just stared at him strangely as he headed to his room. He had an early day the next morning and didn't have time to chit-chat. Tom wasn't in the room, but Jack figured his brother had just gone to get something. As he tried to sleep, the party started making a lot of racket. He decided to go and tell Tom to make his guests keep it down, but he met Tom in the hallway, who had stumbled out of his room to do the same. Tom had thought the old people were Jack's friends. They tore into the living room to confront the ruckus party, but they found the room completely empty, the scent of musk lingering in the air. Who were they, and what had they been doing there? This Redditor has an idea: secret ghost society. I'd love that. They sound fun. I like how the ghosts stared at him awkwardly when he walked in, as if saying, deal with it. Number 5. Time Loop. This time loop was more than deja vu. This Redditor writes that she experienced a glitch when she was 15 years old at her boyfriend's friend's house. They were all in the basement, chilling, when her boyfriend's friend said he was going to get something upstairs. The friend was a 6-foot-tall linebacker. The couple watched him walk to the staircase and climb the stairs. After a couple seconds passed, a transparent image of the linebacker followed. Same lumbering, thumping all the way up, OP wrote. I turned to my boyfriend to ask if he saw it, and I realized the affirmative before I asked, because his eyes looked about ready to fall out of his head. They both saw the same thing, no substances involved. When the linebacker returned, the pair were flipping a lid and tried to explain, but the linebacker just thought they were crazy. They never uncovered what the double image could have been. This Redditor had an answer for OP: by location, kind of an accidental astral projection while awake. Ask the boyfriend's friend if he felt weak or dizzy after he went upstairs. Sometimes that happens when people bilocate. Sounds pretty mysterious, but possible. Number 6. Past and future selves. This is an odd question, but have you ever seen a future version of yourself? This Redditor has, as has his girlfriend. The couple was at the store one night, picking up a few groceries. They divided their grocery list and split up so they could get the job done faster. Just as the OP arrived at the product he had been sent to pick up, he saw his girlfriend at the end of the aisle. She saw him too, and they walked to meet each other. As the OP was walking, he spotted a man in the checkout line. The OP froze. Something about him seemed so familiar. OP said, I then noticed he was giving me the same look. In my head, I was thinking, this man looks so much like an older version of what I will probably look like. The two had a stare down, both with expressions of disbelief on their faces. Then the OP looked over at the lady standing next to his older doppelganger. His jaw dropped. The woman looked the mirror image of his girlfriend. The man noticed the OP's girlfriend too, and he appeared equally shocked. They weren't the only ones though. I look over to my girlfriend, who looks like she's seen a ghost. The OP writes. We walk away and I blurt out, was that us in the future? And she swears she was about to ask me the same question. Perhaps the future couple was doing a similar double take. The OP wondered if they had an identical conversation as they left the store. This Redditor responded, you will know the answer to that question when you are their age and run into your younger self, probably at the same store. Number 7. The Bridge. The following tale was submitted by a Redditor who has since deleted his or her account. The anonymous Redditor is from North Wales in the UK, a beautiful place with nothing to do. The OP and his friends would, therefore, look for ways to spend their time exploring their surroundings. This is what led them to The Bridge. The OP and his 3 friends found a manhole cover that they believed to be an entrance to the bridge. They unbolted the cover, removed the steel disc, and crept down the ladder into the unknown. They found themselves in a narrow space in which they had to crouch and squeeze to get to the main room. As they crawled, they could see the motorway below them through small spaces. One of the boys said that they could see something on the far end. As they arrived to investigate, the OP suddenly felt something ominous. I never reached the end first, he said, and let me tell you, I have never felt the same sense of dread before or since. Directly before him was a foldaway chair, opened and facing the wall. A photo of a woman was on the wall, and the woman's eyes had been cut out. The scene that lay before us had rendered us completely speechless. the OP said, and an overpowering sense of panic could be felt collectively. They all bolted, smashing themselves out of the bridge. To daylight again, we, luckily, never bumped into the twisted individual who sits in that chair, the OP wrote, but I must stress how radically out of the norm this was, given where I live. The group of boys told no one about this event, as he was just a naive teenager at the time, but he did write, we probably should have let the police, or at least someone, know about what was down there, because it wasn't the doings of a healthy-minded individual. Number 8. The briefcase. A briefcase was discovered by this Redditor. It wasn't so much the briefcase that was the mystery, but the curious things found inside, stashed in the bushes of a forested area. The OP and a friend managed to pry the briefcase open. Inside were some passport-sized photos, along with normal-sized ones. The photos were portraits of sickly-looking people sitting in armchairs. Some appeared asleep, but one sat with wide-open eyes. Though the contents of the briefcase remain a mystery, Redditors are not without theories, of course. A Redditor suggested, sounds like mob/mafia stuff, something to send a message. That message hit home with the finders as they left immediately. Number 9. The Post-it Notes. Post-it notes aren't inherently mysterious, but when they keep appearing in your home out of thin air, they can be. This Redditor recounts an experience with the yellow sticky notes. It all started when a note appeared on his desk, written in a stranger's handwriting. It listed some errands that the OP needed to run. Only he knew about these errands, and yet here they were, written by someone else. The OP thought maybe he'd sleep-written them, even though the writing was not his. 4 days later, he discovered another post-it placed on the backside of his desk chair. The handwriting appeared to be the same as the last note. It ordered him to save your documents. Needless to say, this sent some shivers up the OP's spine. The house hadn't been broken into, so who could be writing these mysterious notes? Using a security camera app that records upon detecting movement, the OP placed his webcam towards his desk. Of course, a new post-it was discovered. This one said, "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do." The OP checked the computer's webcam folder, but nothing had appeared. However, the contents of the recycling bin had been deleted, something the OP is certain he hadn't done recently. Lastly, the OP discovered a blank post-it note on the exterior door of his apartment. In fact, when he looked around, he saw variously colored post-its on a number of exterior doors in the apartment complex. Do I have any legal recourse here, the OP asks. Would contacting the police get me into trouble if they can't determine an outside source for this? Should I consult my landlord? Those also living in the complex. He also said that an earlier letter from his landlord was written in a nearly identical handwriting. Number 10. The Rocking Chair. This Redditor wrote of his experience taking care of a mentally handicapped cousin. The cousin had debilitating arthritis in her ankles and knees, and although she could walk around, she needed assistance. The OP would help her around with her walker and fix her breakfast until one day, something happened. In his words, "One morning I heard the water running in the bathroom. When I went to check in on her, I had to pass her room on the way to the bathroom. When I did, I saw that she was in her rocking chair in the corner, her blanket over her head. She was rocking back and forth. Don't leave the water on. You're going to flood the place," the OP told his ward before heading into the bathroom to shut off the water. But arriving at the bathroom, he found his cousin standing there, washing her face. The OP raced back to the rocking chair, but found the blanket just balled up there, no one beneath it. He tore the bedding away to see if whatever he'd seen rocking in the chair was hiding there. "I didn't stay too long after that," the OP said. Number 11. The Stalker. Well, Reddit is a place for everyone. Stalkers are generally not welcome, but they do show up on occasion. People who are perhaps not mentally sound suddenly become obsessed with other users and end up doing crazy things, as what occurred in this case, posted by this Redditor. "We had a very generous user," she said. "She owns a game store and would often send free board games to strangers. Shortly after her latest giveaway, people noticed that she suddenly deleted her account without warning. Some of us were getting a bit concerned. The moderator stepped in to explain. The user herself had messaged them to let everyone know what had happened and why she deleted her account. She said that a couple days after her latest giveaway, a fan friend of hers had entered her store, having made the trip specifically to meet her. He never had contacted me on Reddit, she said. He got aggressive, knew where I lived, the works. The man was taken into custody, and the generous user was forced to cease her board game giveaways. The fact that a fellow Redditor had taken such steps to stalk another spooked a lot of people. It happened in response to Reddit posts, and it ended up costing us an awesome member of the community, the OP noted. Another Redditor asked, what leads someone to think it's okay to do that kind of thing to someone? Number 12. The light in the woods. Have you ever witnessed something unexplainable in the woods? Maybe something that's beyond explanation? This Redditor has. OP describes his experience with the paranormal light he found in the woods at his friend's family's house. The family's property extended fairly far back into the woods. They decided to have a bonfire in the backyard one night when floating inexplicably out of nowhere appeared a yellow light. It was moving all over the woods. The distances it was moving at, the speed it was moving seemed way too fast to be a person with a flashlight, the OP explains. Sometimes it seemed like it would just be on the inside part of the fence, and other times farther out from the fence. We watched it for a good 30 to 45 minutes, just wandering back and forth around in his woods. The light came closer to the OP and his family friends. As a couple of them crept towards it, the light retreated. When they returned to the fire, it started skating around the woods again. They decided not to mess with it. They didn't want to be led into the unknown by a paranormal light. The OP never uncovered what the source of the light was, and maybe it's best that he didn't. Number 13. The Spy. This Redditor posted about the following unsolved mystery, which he says occurred in Isdalen Valley in Norway around 1970. It was there that some hikers stumbled upon a woman who had passed or been knocked off. Scattered around her were sleeping aids, bottles, and several passports, although the passports didn't offer up the true identification of the woman, as they'd been set afire. So run her prints, right? Unfortunately, her fingerprints had all been sanded off. As the investigation progressed, some suitcases at a train station were discovered in connection with the mysterious woman. However, all her clothing labels had been cut out. A diary in the suitcase was also discovered with coded entries. The investigation didn't come up completely empty. At least, it found that the unidentified multilingual woman had skipped through Europe with false identities throughout her travels. She hopped hotels regularly. So who was the Isdale woman? The story reeks of espionage, but who was she spying for? An organization, an individual, or a country? The mystery went unsolved, the case cold. This Redditor agrees with the assumption that the woman was undercover. Definitely seems to be a spy, Khan says. Another Redditor adds, the golden age of espionage, when the art of human intelligence was at its peak, before computer-based intelligence began to take over. It likely made for some incredible feats that we'll never know about. Number 14. The Secret Staircase. While secret rooms have been found in houses, it's a bit uncommon to find a whole other living area that served its purpose all too recently. Having moved into a new house a year prior, this Redditor and his brother were wrestling one day when he shoved his brother into a shelf. The bookshelf, which appeared as if it was built into the wall, was pulled out during the scuffle. Behind it, a spiral staircase. Heading down the stairs, they found a crawl space halfway down that someone had been clearly living in. Scattered in the crawl space were Halloween candy wrappers, which means that whoever had been squatting here had been in the OP's room taking candy. Other things discovered in the crawl space: blankets, an elephant toy, a key, and dolls. The family called the cops, who confirmed that someone had been living there but didn't offer up much else. Chilling. Number 15. A stranger under the bed. This Redditor tells a true story of finding a monster under her bed, one she least expected. The OP was 20 years old when she moved into her first apartment. While chatting with her boyfriend on the phone, she picked up her mail at the entrance of the apartment building and, returning to her room, sat on her bed to open it. She was still on the phone when she dropped it while sorting through her mail. It skidded under the bed. She laid down on the floor and stretched to reach it. That's when she realized someone was under there. In her account, she says, "My eyes widened and I choked the urge to scream. The person under my bed was lying still with his back towards me and his head to his chest, so I couldn't see his face. Of course, with his back towards her, he didn't see her either. She told her boyfriend she was going to take a shower and call him back. She sped into the bathroom next to her bed, locked the door, let the water run, and escaped out the window. Safely outside, she called the police, who told her to watch the apartment from a safe distance in case the man fled. When the police arrived, the OP handed over her keys, and they entered the apartment. Soon, they brought out a crazy-eyed man, frail and tired-looking. One of the policemen told the OP that the man had plans that involved a kitchen knife, which he was holding, waiting next to the bathroom door. How did he get in the apartment? He crept in while she was gone to get the mail. The OP now lives with her boyfriend. The police told me that what I did was truly amazing and rational. If I had screamed, this could have ended really badly for me, she said.
I'd really appreciate it if you followed me, and feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions or suggestions. If you'd like to see more of these videos in the future, then hit that subscribe button.